Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Christina from Our Wood Home. As you can tell from the title of this video, I am sharing with you my super secret, closely guarded chocolate chip cookie recipe. It's actually not a secret. I don't mind sharing the recipe. It's a secret in the sense that I haven't shared it here yet. But this recipe is my tried and true chocolate chip cookie recipe that I have been using since 2005 when I got it in a high school cooking class. So to make this recipe, you will need 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of white sugar, and you're going to cream these with an electric mixer. I will put out a general disclaimer that this is not a healthy cookie recipe, in case you couldn't tell by the large quantity of sugar and butter. I have not experimented with different types of sweetener, such as honey or maple syrup, or even different types of sugar, so I can't say that that will work out with this recipe, but of course you are welcome to try and experiment, and if you do, please let me know in the comments what you used and how it turned out. Back to this recipe, you're just going to combine all those in a large mixing bowl, and you can mix this by hand, I suppose, but it's a lot easier if you use a stand mixer or an electric mixer. And you just want these to be very well incorporated. While this is mixing, I like to get my dry ingredients together. You will also need 2 eggs for this recipe, so I'll set those out for when the time comes. You're going to combine in a separate bowl 2½ cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and just give these a good mix in that separate bowl. Once your butter and sugars mixture is nicely beaten, you can go ahead and add 2 eggs into that. The original recipe that I used called for a teaspoon of vanilla, but I don't usually use vanilla, and I don't think it has a negative outcome on the taste of the cookies, but you can use a teaspoon if you want and mix that in when you're mixing in the eggs. Next, you're going to add your dry mixture. I do half the bowl at a time just because it's easier to mix that way. The recipe that I use calls for chocolate chips, which I normally have, but I didn't this time, so I decided to use some baking chocolate. If you are using chocolate chips, you will need 1½ cups. I used 4 ounces of baking chocolate and just mixed that in by hand. Then you're just going to make these little dough balls, and of course try to get them as round and as even as possible, but that isn't usually a priority for me, so I just try to get them somewhat consistent. One last note about the chocolate chunks or chips or whatever you're going to use. If you decide to use baking chocolate or even just bricks of chocolate, you'll definitely need to cut it up very fine. I left some chunks and it kind of burned some of the cookies, but it was still edible. This goes into the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 8 to 10 minutes. I find that 9 minutes was perfect using my convection setting on my oven. Once those are done, they will cook a little bit longer on the tray, so if you want them to be crispy, you can leave them to cool on the tray. But if you prefer a more soft cookie, I suggest taking them off the cookie sheet and letting them cool on some cooling racks. This recipe makes a lot of cookies. I think it's about 4 dozen or so, and I only have 2 cookie trays, so it took me a while to get all of these cookies made, but it was definitely worth it. They freeze pretty well, so that's always an option if you find that it's just too many cookies to have all at once. Over the years, I have experimented with different types of add-ins instead of chocolate chips. You could use a different flavored chip like a peanut butter or a butterscotch or even a salted caramel, or you can leave the chocolate out altogether and just do 1½ cups mixed fruit and nuts, That's an interesting flavor combination that I quite enjoy. Overall, this is a very simple and straightforward recipe which yields a delicious cookie. I've been using it, like I said, since 2005 when I got it in a high school cooking class, and whenever I would make these cookies for my family, my brothers would be so excited they would just devour them as soon as they were out of the oven, not even waiting for them to cool. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you will give this recipe a try. It's sure to be a hit in your family as well as mine. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you have a great rest of your day.